This is the news for South Mississippi. WLOX News Now at midday.
We're still trying to wrap our heads around everything that brought him to that moment of despair that this happened. But Mike leaves a tremendous legacy in this police department.
Bay St. Louis Mayor Les Fillingame speaking out about the sudden loss of his police chief. We are live with the new insight in the tragedy that has rocked the Bay. Small tokens of love and appreciation are starting to appear outside of the Bay St. Louis police station. People paying their respects after the sudden loss of police chief Mike DiNardo. Jonathan Brandon has been talking with people in the Bay St. Louis area this morning. He joins us now live as we're gaining new insight into this tragic turn of events. Jonathan?
Yeah, Victor, you know, those small tokens that you're talking about really paint a picture of how the community feels after this. I'm hearing several words this morning as I've been around the Bay St. Louis area. These words, shocking. These words include reeling. And one of the biggest words that I've heard is why. The whole city, pretty much, I've heard many people saying, why did this happen? They're wondering what would cause this to happen, and we've been talking with the Mayor Les Fillingame, like you saw at the top of this show, who's been telling us that this investigation is ongoing, but we did report to you that that the police chief was under investigation and was actually being suspended without pay, which made this story even more confusing to many people here in Bay St. Louis. And now Mayor Les Fillingame told us that there was a lot that was going on in the chief's life that we necessarily didn't know about. Here's what he had to say.
There had to be things going on in Mike's life that we weren't aware of. I know that he had, Mike had some personal issues going on. I know that he had just had a very tough weekend. He had gone to New York City, and of course his mother had passed away. He was called in to be by her side in her last few hours with us. He took that very hard.
Now, as we've told you, Hancock County Sheriff's Department has taken over operations here at the Bay St. Louis Police Department. And as we get information into WLOX, we'll be the first to let you know online and on air. For now, I'm live in Bay St. Louis. Jonathan Brandon for WLOX News Now.
Thank you, Jonathan. A very tragic story indeed. We now know the identity of the man in the Mississippi Sound Thursday. Harrison County Coroner Gary Hargrove says he's 28-year-old Michael Carl, who was staying in Biloxi. Hargrove says Carl was seen walking into the water by shrimpers in the area, then heard him calling for help. The shrimpers were anchored and could not get to him, so they called the DMR and the Biloxi police. New this morning, an Ocean Springs man faces federal child pornography charges after admitting to the FBI he's been interested in child porn for years. The FBI raided David Joseph Spears' home on Temple Terrace Thursday. Agents searched computers and, according to court documents, found video of Spear having sex with an underage girl, along with other videos of men having sex with minors. Court papers also say that the 62-year-old Spears admits to having a sexual interest in children since he was 12 years old. Spears appeared in federal court this morning and is charged with possession of child pornography. Happening now, a George County jailer out of a job and under arrest. This morning, 58-year-old Warren Avery is charged with having sex with an inmate. Avery had worked at the George County Regional Jail since 2009. George County Sheriff Keith Harvard stating the facility has zero tolerance for misconduct of any kind. The sheriff says a joint investigation with his office and the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations is continuing. Once the investigation is completed, the findings will then be presented to a grand jury. New at midday, a federal court trial could be underway for a deadly explosion. One man died and 3 others injured in July 2014 as men worked on a huge steel tank. 2 of the injured workers, Rusty Gable and Clay Davis, have filed lawsuits alleging Omega Protein was negligent and didn't do enough to ensure their safety while working with a flammable tank and flammable material. Gable and Davis are asking for jury trials. The lawsuit do not specify how much money they want, only that they want payments for lost wages, physical and emotional suffering, and loss of quality of life. Omega Protein already reached a settlement with the widow of a man killed in the explosion. A project to provide ultra-high-speed internet along the entire Mississippi Gulf Coast is advancing. A news conference to update the plans took place at Biloxi City Hall this morning. Steve Phillips has the details.
Leaders of the Gulf Coast Broadband Initiative call it a major step forward for the project. Their ultimate goal is to provide universal, ultra-high-speed, affordable internet on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. At a Biloxi City Hall news conference this morning, they announced a partnership between Coast Electric Power Association and the internet provider Inline, which will lay more than 100 miles of fiber optic cable between Hancock County and Biloxi.
It shows that what GCBI has put together, the model that it is offering to the public, makes sense and will have benefit. And it's a great opportunity to advance that.
That installation of more than 100 miles of fiber optic cable is a significant boost for the project, providing 1/3 to 1/2 of the infrastructure needs.
This is coming to reality now, and it gives you a good feeling that we're on the right track for our kids and for our grandkids and for the success of our community. We're in sync in more ways than one.
Reporting from Biloxi, Steve Phillips, WLOX News Now.
Thank you, Steve. Let's go to weather. A pretty start to our weekend, although here at the station we saw a shower earlier this morning. Wesley Williams is here, so how's the rest of the weekend looking for us, Wesley?
Victor, it's partly cloudy right now in our Biloxi Tower Cam at the IP Casino Resort and Spa. This weekend will be treated to more sunshine, but I think we'll add a few raindrops to that. You can see temperatures right now in the mid-80s on the Live Neighborhood Network, and it looks like on the WLOX First Alert radar still tracking a few showers out there across parts of Hancock, Harrison, and mainly Stone counties. But as we look around the region, overall kind of dry, but a pattern change is on the way heading into next week that could bring wetter weather. We have the latest details coming up in an update.
A quick correction. A man arrested in Ocean Springs Thursday is Philip Joseph Spear. I apologize for the mistake. Happening now, a morning of appreciation for first responders. The community celebrating and thanking them with breakfast. And the thank you meals don't end there. There's also a lunch getting underway in less than 30 minutes at Garden Park Medical Center. That lunch goes until about 1:30 this afternoon. Happening in less than an hour in Jackson County, the Mississippi Blues Trail celebrates the coast. A former blues marker dedication taking place at noon at the Jackson Fairgrounds in Pascagoula. The Blues Trail marks the 6th on the coast and the 1st in Jackson County. 30 million people battling alcoholism. ABC anchor Elizabeth Vargas paints a stark portrait of life as an alcoholic. Hear her story and also what's happening in South Mississippi to help people find their way back from destructive drinking. Coming up.
Now, WLOX First Alert Weather with meteorologist Wesley Williams.
Welcome back, everybody. Blue skies overhead, but a few clouds in the distance, some of them causing some rain. Right now, we showed you the radar earlier. Now we're showing you the sunshine and the white sands of the beaches of the Mississippi coast. Looking beautiful right now from our Mississippi Power Tower Cam at the Beau Rivage. Temperature along the Harrison County coast in the mid to upper 80s right now. However, some spots apparently still in the 70s. I think that might be an error report there. 82 right now in Wiggins, where it feels like 90. Feels like it's as hot as 95 in Van Cleve. And as we head into the afternoon, temperatures are not going to warm much more than about that 90-degree mark. The rain chance today holds at about 20 to 30%, and then tonight for Friday evening and Friday night, looks like the rain chance begins to fall off there. As we take a look at the radar, you're seeing those rain showers mainly across the western sections, areas west of Highway 49. Our Futurecast model clearly not picking up on that rain activity very well, but during the afternoon, it looks like it puts more rain off to the west across parts of southeast Louisiana as opposed to us. Looks like if we do see any rain today, probably going to be pretty brief, but it could cause a quick downpour at times. Heading into tonight, mostly clear skies, a 0% chance of rain on Saturday. Here's the change that we've been talking about. Look at the top left corner of your screen, little blue line with some triangles on it. What is that? It's a cold front. And right when it makes it here by Sunday, it pumps the brakes and stalls out, becomes a stationary front, and that means as it stays there, it will cause us an increased chance of rain heading into the second half of the weekend, and really, quite honestly, for much of the upcoming work week, the next one. Here's a look at the neighborhood forecast. The highs into the upper 80s and lower 90s today. Looks like the hottest spots will be away from the water. And then for your Friday night football forecast, it looks like that temperature again down into the mid 80s there. Plenty of sunshine for the first part of the game before kickoff, and then it looks like by the end, or at least the second half of the game, after the sun sets, temperatures into the lower 80s. So probably not all that cool. You won't need a jacket, obviously, and you're probably good to go on leaving the umbrella in the car. Neighborhood forecast has the overnight lows tonight not as cool as we've seen in recent nights. Now we're back into the mid-70s, maybe some upper 70s right along the coast. It looks like you'll be near 70, not too bad, in areas like Saussure as well as Van Cleve and Poplarville and Picayune. And then a couple of upper 60s for parts of Stone and George County. As we take a look at the 7-day forecast, it looks like, again, the weekend starts off fairly nice. A similar rain chance tomorrow to what we have today. So on Saturday, a less chance of rain compared to Sunday. And I think that we'll see that rain chance start to increase even more once we get towards Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. A quick check on the tropics. Hurricane season peaks tomorrow. 3 disturbances out there, but the good news is none of them pose a threat to the Gulf Coast region.
Thank you, Wesley. Battling alcoholism. ABC Elizabeth Vargas and her story. It's a very personal battle she'll share with you next. Tonight on ABC's 2020, a deeply personal story from anchor Elizabeth Vargas. She sat down with Diane Sawyer to talk about her long battle with alcoholism. Her story is now a memoir, Between Breaths. In it, she reveals some of her darkest moments and her long road back to joy.
Good evening. Tonight we're taking you on television. She's the picture of calm.
I'm Elizabeth Vargas in Baghdad.
Traveling the world as an anchor and reporter.
Return here to Jerusalem, so you don't agree.
A familiar face in the morning.
And today we're looking at jeans.
But for some of those years, Elizabeth Vargas was living a secret double life as an alcoholic.
Thanks, Elizabeth, very much.
There are days when you wake up and you feel so horrible that the only thing that will make you feel better is more alcohol. And that's when you're in the death spin. You know, that's when people die. That's when people die.
How close did you come to dying?
I, on one occasion, had what I know to be a lethal level of alcohol in my blood system. And even that didn't scare me into stopping. Can you believe it? Even that.
Haunted by crushing insecurity and anxiety that began as a child, Vargas says a glass or two of wine helped smooth frayed nerves. Over the years, social drinking fueled by that anxiety became a dangerous addiction. A startling statistic, more than 60% of women who have a problem with alcohol also struggle with anxiety.
Good evening. We begin tonight with 2 rescue.
To watch Elizabeth anchor live TV, you'd have no idea she was forcing herself to suppress deep anxiety.
I mean, I remember anchoring the evening news, and every single night when Michelle, and I love Michelle, the floor manager, when she would count down, I hated it.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. And, you know, my heart would start pounding. 1 minute. Now I'm like hyperventilating.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. And literally the studio, the edges of my vision would start to swim a little. And if you watch carefully at the beginning of every newscast,
World News Tonight,
you will see me lean in and I grip the desk with my right hand.
Good evening from Los Angeles.
And on my left hand, which I'm holding my pen, I'm taking my engagement ring and I'm digging the edge into my thumb.
Why did you go in this business if it was going to torment you like that?
I still love it. I love telling people stories.
But I mean, people can look at you and say, you're so lucky, really.
I am lucky. It's easy to say that on the outside looking in. And first of all, yes, I am. I am so lucky to have my 2 amazing children and to have this amazing job. It doesn't matter how much you have or how little you have. It didn't matter. It leveled me. It knocked me flat on my butt. I lost sight of everything. Everything.
And as the mother of 2 young boys, a punishing reality.
I was drinking and sleeping. And I do vividly remember, like, one afternoon, Sam standing by my head in the bed saying, "Mommy, when are you going to get up?" And I remember I could smell the sunscreen and I could feel the heat from his little body because he'd just come in from the beach. And I would die for my children, Diane. I wouldn't give a nanosecond's worth of thought to die for my children, to kill for my children, but I would die for my children. but I couldn't stop drinking for my children. I don't know if I will ever forgive myself for hurting them with my drinking, ever.
See the entire 2020 on Elizabeth Vargas' battle with alcoholism tonight at 8 on WLOX ABC. Now, we understand it's a 2-hour show tonight, and the Vargas story is the second part of the show. Just how big of a problem is alcoholism in South Mississippi? Merit Health Gulf Oaks Hospital Program Manager Chris Raz is here to talk about that. So, Chris, just how big of a problem is this?
Well, I'm sure that South Mississippi is representative of the national numbers. 57% over the age of 18 have drank at some point during the last year, and 25% have done some binge drinking, which would be more than 5 units within 2 hours. I'm sure the numbers are the same on the coast. Some things are more precipitating factors, Katrina, oil spills. Some things are going to increase the frequency of it, but the numbers, I'm sure, match the national numbers.
All right, now you talk about large numbers of people, drinking. What are the signs?
Well, drinking can actually be a healthy activity as long as it's within reason and within guidelines. A glass of wine a day and the standard numbers that we hear. However, when it starts interfering with your daily life, your productivity, your family relationships, your work, of course, then it can be a sign that there's problems looming, and it might be time to get some help.
Right, now you talk about drinking healthy and then going on people binge drinking and it becoming a problem. How can it be prevented from you drinking healthy to having a problem with it?
Well, I think people need to be reasonable and acknowledge that there's a limit. Like I said, the recommendations for a glass of wine a day are fine if you find yourself being unable to stop drinking, or that it's something that you feel that you have to do because you feel under pressure, stressed, anxious, depressed. When there's consequences that start showing up, or loved ones or friends start having conversations with you about maybe the amount you drink or your behaviors when you drink, then obviously this is something, it's something on the radar and something worth addressing.
Gotcha. Now, one last question for you.
Sure.
For our viewers out there who may be watching, who might have a problem, who need help, what would you say to them?
Well, I think that you need to listen to the people who know you the best, loved ones, family members. If you think this is something that's affecting you, having a conversation with a professional, maybe your own family doctor, or reaching out to hospitals such as Merit Health or others on the coast, or maybe going to an AA meeting and having conversations with someone there. But it's important to reach out and use the options and the help that is available at the time. Okay. This is a problem that won't just go away.
Gotcha. Once again, thank you for talking to me, Mr. Chris Raz. Alcohol is also an issue for college kids. Hear what the study reveals about college and alcohol use. Coming up. College is back in session. Many parents worry about their children away from home and the temptations they face, like experimenting with drugs. And a new report reveals the drug that appears to be enjoying a surge of popularity among the college crowd. Dr. Timothy Johnson explained.
Millions of American teens are spending their first weeks in college right now. New friends, new experiences, and new risks as some experiment with drugs. And now, new data showing that among college students, marijuana use is on the rise. The numbers coming from the annual Monitoring the Future survey find that nearly 40% of college students say they've used marijuana in the past year, up from 30% 10 years ago. Daily marijuana use is at its highest levels in more than 3 decades. But researchers found a different story when it came to narcotics. College students are now less likely to abuse prescription painkillers than in the past. 3% of college students admit to using them. That's about 1/3 as many as in 2006. The real mind-altering drug of choice is alcohol. Nearly 4 out of 5 college students say they've used it in the past year. For parents, a reminder that in addition to explaining laundry and setting priorities, sending your kid to school safely also means having a conversation about drugs, including alcohol. With this Medical Minute, I'm Dr. Timothy Johnson.
It's finally Friday. Take a look at live radar. Right now, it's looking pretty quiet in the immediate area. Wesley Williams has an update for tonight's weather during Friday Night Football. Next.
It was a Friday afternoon. I just picked up my friends after class. We never expected to be in a car wreck. I realized that I needed help, so I called Morris Bar. $225,000.
Call 432-9000.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, how you doing today?
Good.
So let's see, how much are you depositing today?
$4.68.
No matter how small the transaction or the customer, People's Bank understands that the dreams are real.
You'll have enough for your puppy soon.
It's never too early to start dreaming big. It's always more than banking. The People's Bank, where people come first.
When you want to spend more time with the ones you love and less time in traffic and airports, Gulf Fort Biloxi International Airport is your answer. Visit flygpt.com to book your next flight and experience how we make flying easier.
The Biloxi Chamber of Commerce, City of Biloxi, and Mississippi Department of Marine Resources invite you to the 35th Annual Biloxi Seafood Festival, September 10th and 11th at Point Cadet Plaza. Weekend highlights will include Departure, the Journey Tribute Band, on Saturday night, the Gumboat Championship on Sunday, arts and crafts, kids activities, and of course, seafood. For more information, call 228-604-0014 or email info@mscoastchamber.com.
Blues and Barbecue Festival featuring two Grammy Award-winning guitarists. The Shed presents Buddy Guy. From my head down to my shoe. And Johnny Lang. Saturday, September 10th on the Great Lawn at Harrah's Gulf Coast. Put your big fat feet on. Tickets and concert marine permits available at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss Buddy Guy and Johnny Lang. Presented by the Shed Barbecue.
Friday night football kicks off across South Mississippi. Our WLOX News crews will be at games all across the coast, bringing you the action on the gridiron. Look for highlights and scores later today on WLOX News at 10 and the Friday Night Showdown, both on air, online, and on our mobile app. So Wesley is here right now with us, and the forecast is looking pretty good for the games, I guess it is.
Oh yeah, Victor, it's really a nice touchdown of a forecast, if you want to call it that. Take a look at the Friday night football forecast for South Mississippi, where we will hold on to a 10% chance of rain, but it looks like most games are going to avoid that wet weather. Temperatures in the mid to lower 80s. Next 7 days, small chance of rain continues Saturday, but then we see those rain chances come up by Sunday. Continues to look rainier into next week.
All right, ready for some football. We want to thank you guys for joining us once again on WLOX News Now.